What an exquisite evening, huh?
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. So I just want to start by saying to be able to turn a trauma into life purpose is inspiring to so many people, because Tiffany has walked this path that, like she said, a lot of people have not, and has been able to put it back into words through her experience and give it back. So I just want to say thank you very much for that. I got to yoga about, gosh, it was more than 25 years ago. And this woman came to my house and she was so vibrant, and she was asking me to do, I think it was a nutritional program with her. She was going to do the yoga, I was going to do the nutrition. And when I opened my door, she was larger than life. She was vibrant, joyful. I had a teenager at the time who was driving me nuts, and I happened to mention something as he was walking through the kitchen. I was like, oh, I can't wait for him to go to college. Well, she dropped the bomb on me that her son had been murdered. His girlfriend and son had been murdered, gun violence. They never found the person who killed them. And I thought to myself, after she left, we cried together. After she left, I cried for 3 days because of just the way I was having an experience with my son as a mother, but also for her loss. And after 3 days, I wiped my tears and made a phone call to the organization that she was in with yoga, because I wanted her joy. I wanted to know what it was that got her through one of the worst tragedies, and then got her back to this incredible joy and vibrancy. And that's what I see in you. And that's, it's just this, it's a gift, and it's inspiring. So, yoga. You mentioned the book Body Keeps the Score. Bessel van der Kolk also says that the thing that has worked for trauma, and many of us have experienced different levels of trauma and have held it in the body, but he says out of all the things that he's worked with as a doctor and researcher, yoga has been the thing that has made the most remarkable significance in a person's life. Yoga is mind, body, spirit. I would assume that you all have the spirit, because this is Dryden Methodist Church, right, Robin?
And others.
And right. And what I want to talk about briefly tonight is the mind and the body. The mind actually follows the breath. So whatever your breath is doing, your mind is doing. And it is the nature of the mind to fluctuate. It likes to do all these fluctuations, waves of fluctuations. Sometimes those fluctuations are nice waves. Sometimes they're tsunamis. They're just taking us out. If the breath is not deep, even, and steady, rather it's erratic and shallow, then most often the mind is in bigger waves. So if we can learn how to breathe correctly, and by the way, we haven't been taught that. Most people have not been taught how to breathe correctly. I work with the top athletes in the world. I've had the great opportunity to work with some of the best, and they have not been taught how to breathe correctly. And it's very interesting to get to this place in our lives, not really understanding one of the most fundamental things about our life is breathing. So what I'd like to ask you to do, I want to take you through two things: breath, and then I'm going to take you through just a couple of things with the body. What Tiffany was talking about, where trauma is stored in the body. I'm going to show you two things. We can call it yoga, we can call it whatever we want to, but let's start by standing up. That'll feel good, right? Stretch it out. So the breath, the important thing with the breath is that you have to have a tall spine. The shoulders have to be back on the back in order to receive a full breath. What I'm going to teach you now is what we call the Ujjayi breath. It's the deep, even, steady breath. And it is simply that we don't actually breathe by just drawing our breath in. We breathe by making space for the breath. And then atmospheric pressure pushes the breath into your body. It's a space volume thing. So if we get tall, then we can take a deeper breath. So shoulders on the back, plant your feet, open your feet just a little bit wider than hip width. And we're going to start by placing our hands on the hips, taking the tops of your femurs and moving them back slightly. Yep. And then standing tall. Again, Jenny, there it is. And we're going to begin with an exhalation through the nose. So the latest research on breath is that you get 20% more energy by breathing through the nose, not mouth. You get crooked teeth by breathing through the mouth. Interesting, huh? So close the mouth. Take one full exhalation against the back of your nose and breathe out so you can hear your breath. Sounds like this. And then you receive your inhale, same thing. All the way to the top of the lungs, and then you do an exhale to follow. It's like fogging a mirror with the mouth closed. See if you can take just a few deep, steady breaths. Notice your inner terrain before you begin to breathe. And then notice it after you've taken a few breaths. What begins to happen is the mind starts to do this steadier, more still thing, and it stops doing this stuff behind us, like what happened back here, and it stops doing this stuff in front of us, like what's going to happen, this unknown that we don't know about anyway, and it asks us to be really present-minded. So just take a few more of those breaths against the back of the throat. Listen to your breath. It is your life force. It is the very thing that gives you life. So if we begin to expand it and we start to use our breathing muscles, everything changes. There is an intrinsic joy in all of us, no matter what we've been through, that is there if we can tap into it. The breath is one of the quickest ways to do that. So stay with your breath. Now we're going to do something a little bit tricky. You're going to have to stop me because I'm used to teaching, a few hours at a time. So you're going to have to go, okay, that's it, Denise. All right. So now we're going to make 2 long lines. So the first line is going to be, let's make 3. 1 middle line and then the back line. So all come together. This is what communities do together. We help each other. So you got to make a line and we got to do it quick because we're going to run out of time and she's going to boot me off this stage.
Okay.
And we're going to take so don't turn yet. You're going to give me a wrist and we're going to spread ourselves apart far enough that we have a palm up and a wrist to wrist. Okay? Then watch this closely. I'm going to take a deep, full breath, make my side bodies long, and I'm going to have one person on each side. And then I'm going to press into that person to bring my shoulders on my back. And that doesn't mean we get to do this. We got to keep the back body full. The shoulders go on the back, and we can breathe more fully. All right, thank you. So now, okay, wrist to wrist. Now, I know that this is tough. This front, back, this is the hardest part right here. Now you're going to take a deep, full breath and fill your side bodies so the side bodies get long. And you're going to push into your partner through your wrists. You're going to push into your partner and you're going to have the shoulders come back on your back. So push. You can do this against a wall too. Same thing. Palm up, shoulders back, turn away from your partner or just walk away from your partner. And give another deep, steady breath. All right, good. Release it. Right where you're at. Take your hands behind your back. Bring your shoulders onto your back. You can all face me now. Bring your shoulders onto your back. Fill your back body. Take a deep breath and bring the shoulders back onto the back. So that's going to give the chest more opening to just receive more breath. Just receive another breath right there. Through the nose. Breathe deeply. If you're a mouth breather at night, there is new tape. You can actually tape your mouth. Not kidding. This is real thing. You can tape your mouth and train yourself to breathe through your nose, and your teeth will stay straighter. Okay. So lastly, here's what we're going to do. The muscle that responds to trauma fight, flight, freeze, faint, the nervous system response, the sympathetic nervous system response, is the psoas. It's the deep hip flexor muscle. When trauma happens, when fear happens, that muscle contracts, energy pulls up, and you will adopt a posture like this. It affects everything. It affects the breathing because this muscle is attached at the top of your femurs. It runs through the hip, and then it attaches to every vertebra all the way up your back to T12. Low back issue, the first place we look in athletes is the psoas. Hip issues, we look at the psoas. Trauma tends to contract the psoas. It affects digestion. It causes all the things that Tiffany was talking about. It is the main muscle in trauma that is going to contract and hold. So what I want to do is just show you a couple of ways to open that back up. And as I've said before, we all deal with trauma or fear or, just travel. Simply flying on an airplane will cause that muscle to tighten and pull up. And then the energy pulls up. And then elimination is affected and all those things. So we're going to take the hands on the hips once again. Open your feet wider than hip width. Press down on the hips and take the tops of your femurs back. So when the tops of the femurs go back, you're giving space so that that muscle can be more open, but you're also giving space to your entire low back. The energy then can go down through your feet. I want you to just give a little press down on your hips and feel your feet growing into the earth, kind of like the roots of a tree. Just feel your energy going down. Everything in nature roots before it rises. It's the same with the energy in the human body. We've got to go down before we go up. Trauma pulls us up. So just take yourself and settle, and then take that deep breath through the nose again. Deep, steady breath through the nose. Thighs go back. Okay, lastly, I'm going to show you how to open that on a chair, and then done. I'll give it away. So I know we all have interesting chairs here, but this is the only way I could figure out how to do this without putting you all on the ground. So you're going to go back to your chair, but watch this quickly. You're going to sit on the front edge of your chair, and you're going to turn so that you're on one hip, and the back leg is going to go behind you. So let's get here. Let's everybody turn towards the pavilion over here. Yep. That means your right leg is forward, your left leg is back. Is that correct? So now, I want you to sit tall, take a breath, and take that back leg and move it a little bit further back. That is going to be the psoas muscle. Yes. So you can either stay here with the knee bent, or you can lunge it all the way back. Hold the back of your chair and lunge that leg all the way back without hitting the person behind you. Tell me where you feel that. Right there. That's the psoas muscle. Switch sides. Turn around the other way. You're going to sit on your hip. This is an everyday thing. We can do this every day. Now, bend the front knee, send the back knee behind you, or straighten that back leg entirely. Looks like this. This is going to stretch the back psoas muscle. Sit tall, take a breath. And then I just want to ask you to notice how soon your breath goes away. And if you'd like to go deeper, you can raise that arm with that leg. So if it's the left leg, it's the left arm. If it's the right leg behind you, it's the right arm. Yeah. That. Good. And release it. Take a seat back in your chair. And as you sit, just take another deep, steady breath. I'm just going to show you quickly how this is done on the floor. Lunges every day. You can just take that leg behind you and take a lunge, or take a lunge. Opens the entire back psoas, and it will change everything. So I came to yoga thinking that I was going to get another certification. It changed my life. I'll hand it back to Tiffany. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Denise. That was awesome. It is really surprising how difficult it is to breathe when we actually really focus on it and think about it. And I hear that a lot from people who have really significant trauma, that they just don't know how to, I can't take a deep breath. It takes practice. So I appreciate the tools that we just learned there.